The diner's hum of casual conversation was interrupted by a voice, calm but firm. "Leave the old-timer alone. He's not bothering anyone." The man who spoke had a quiet presence, his tone more commanding than loud. He stepped between three jeering teenagers and an elderly man hunched over a chipped mug of coffee. One of the boys scoffed. "Mind your own business, pal." But the man didn't waver. He met their eyes until they shifted and backed off. An hour later, the tranquility of a sleepy Tuesday afternoon shattered. Tires screeched. Black SUVs with tinted windows sealed off the block. At Rosie's diner, people gasped, pressed against the windows. No one understood what was happening. Yet, Mark Talbot had looked like any other regular in the small diner. Somewhere in his late 40s or early 50s, with crow's feet carved by years of something hard and unseen. Jeans, a plain t-shirt, flannel shirt over it. He blended in. That was the point. He came to Rosie's most days for the quiet. No one asked questions. The booths had wear, the coffee lukewarm, but the anonymity was soothing. In the corner sat Earl Maynard. Late 70s, maybe older. Clothes a generation behind. A windbreaker he probably wore every season. A VFW cap, slightly askew. His hands trembled slightly as he cupped his coffee. Most days, he mumbled to himself. People ignored him or offered polite smiles from a distance. He was part of the place. Furniture, almost. But that day, three high school boys slid into the booth across from him. Loud, cocky, skipping school. At first, they were caught up in their phones and fries. But then one noticed Earl mumbling. "Yo, check out Grandpa talking to his ketchup bottle." He jeered. Laughter followed. Earl looked up, confused. "Just remembering," he said softly. "Remembering what?" "What mashed potatoes tasted like before electricity." Another chimed in. "Leave him alone," Rosie called half-heartedly from behind the counter. But it wasn't enough. The ringleader leaned forward and flicked the brim of Earl's hat. "What war, Pops?" "Civil. Korea," Earl murmured. "Korea? Wow. Did you teach them to make sushi?" The laughter turned to cackles. Patrons shifted in their booths, uncomfortable. But no one moved. Mark watched from the counter. His jaw clenched. He finished his coffee, slid from his stool, and walked toward the booth. "Leave the old man alone," he said again. His voice was low, level. There was no anger, just something cold and immovable behind it. The teens sized him up. He wasn't big, average built, nothing that screamed threat. "What are you, his babysitter?" The leader smirked. "Your jokes are cheap. This man served his country. Show some respect." "Peeling potatoes, maybe," the teen scoffed. "Apologize." The laughter stopped. "What? Apologize to him?" The teen stared. Mark didn't flinch. The diner was silent. No one dared move. The tension was electric. Finally, the ringleader stood abruptly. "Whatever, man. This place is lame anyway." He shoved past Mark, shouldering him deliberately. The others followed. Their swagger cracked. Mark sat down across from Earl. "You okay, sir?" "They're just kids," Earl said. But his voice trembled less now. "Still wrong." Rosie brought 2 fresh coffees. She nodded at Mark. "Thanks. They've been getting worse lately." They drank in silence for a few minutes. "Korea," Earl said again. "Coldest place I ever knew." Mark didn't ask for details, just listened. When Earl stood to leave, he laid down more than enough for his drink. "Thank you, son." Mark nodded. "Anytime." He paid, left a large tip, and walked out. He drifted into the city sidewalk crowd, just another man with nowhere to be. Except he did. Half a block away, he leaned against a nondescript sedan. Checked his watch. His shoulders straightened. The weariness melted. His eyes scanned the street. Then the world changed. 3 black SUVs swept in. Tires screamed. Engines roared. The street was sealed in seconds. Men in suits emerged. Earpieces. Controlled chaos. A general stepped out. He looked around and spotted Mark. The officer walked straight toward him. "Commander Talbot, you're late." "Minor complication." "Civilians." "Asset compromised." "No, sir. Just intervened in something that needed fixing." "You were instructed not to engage." "Wasn't a mission-related issue. It was about decency." The general sighed. looked past him toward the diner. This is your idea of quiet. Mark smirked. The intervention was quiet. Extraction, less so. He gestured toward the sedan. Package is secure. The general nodded. Let's move. As they turned to the cars, Rosie emerged from the diner. Her eyes locked on Mark. Mark? What is all this? The general paused. Mark gave a tiny shake of his head, but the general answered anyway. Ma'am, Mr. Talbot was concluding sensitive operations. Also, I understand he defended someone in your establishment today. Rosie's eyes widened. The dots connected. He works for you. Commander Talbot doesn't work for me. I ensure his environment remains secure. He operates above most of us. He nodded respectfully. The fact that he paused a critical mission to stand up for an elderly vet tells you everything about his character. Perhaps more people should follow that example. Mark nodded at Rosie, then got into the SUV. In seconds, the convoy disappeared. The block returned to calm, but it was a different kind of quiet now. People whispered. Who was that man? What had they seen? The teenagers heard the story later. The military. The lockdown. They didn't return to Rosie's. Not for a while. Earl, likely unaware of the cascade he'd triggered, was probably back home, reminiscing with quiet dignity. Commander Mark Talbot was gone. Off to another city. Another diner. Another mission. His defense of Earl wasn't protocol. It wasn't authorized. But it was right. And in the end, that's what defined him. Because real duty isn't always about classified orders or high-stakes targets. Sometimes, it's just seeing someone in need and refusing to look away. That it's about remembering that every face across a counter has a story, and the strongest people are often the ones who never ask for recognition. They just do what's right.